He's the host of Gills Arena podcast, three-time All-Star with the Wizards, and his his underdog hit show, just surpassed 1 million subscribers. Look at you. You're making moves, man. You're making moves.
Trying to.
This time of the year, I think back to March Madness when you guys played for the national championship and you played against Duke. What do you remember about that moment?
That's funny because of Richard Jefferson. I remember the Final Four against Michigan State, where I was doing a lot of gambling for steals and tried to get through a pin down screen. And Troy, it was Hudson and Zach Randolph closed that door on me, and I tore soft tissue muscle in my chest. I finished the game, but I was hurt going into the championship game.
Or you would have beaten Duke? Is that what you're saying?
Of course, I was a man on fire back then.
Was that Mike Dunleavy's Duke team?
Yes, that was Mike Dunleavy's breakout game. But they had a loaded roster also. That Jason Will, or Jay Will, Boozer. You had Duhan, young Duhan. Shane Battier was the best player on the team, so they were also loaded.
Did you hate Duke?
I did because I thought, even though I was hurt, we still had a chance to win that game, and I think there was like 22 missed calls in that game, which we felt we was refed unfairly.
Wait. Who decided there were 22 missed calls?
The ESPN after, when you watch after, there was a pivotal play where Jason Gardner was dribbling and he stopped and Jay Will fell on him, which would have been his third foul in the first. And they didn't even call him. He's just sitting there. Jay Wills fell all on him. He's just sitting there, just bouncing the ball. And they never actually called that foul.
So you think Duke getting preferential treatment?
It felt that way. It did feel that way. But, it's a championship game. They can't call everything.
I'm curious, with NIL, with your son and your daughter, you do have the financial means that, but do you still, how are they taking advantage? Will they take advantage of name, image, and likeness? Your son and daughter are very, very highly rated recruits.
Yes, I told them, there's NIL and then there's collective, right? Most, parents are mixing the two and they don't understand the difference. NIL is your name and likeness, so you have to be a popular player and personality. The collective is what everyone's getting from the school themselves, right? So, the school money is very different from the NIL. NIL, you have to earn through your performance, your social media presence. So, they're understanding, that situation.
Okay. But are you their agent? Are you negotiating?
No. I'll talk to agents. Right now, my son is thinking about going with Clutch Sports, and, working on the NIL side of it. My daughter's still trying to figure out, what she wants to go with. I think she might go with Aaron Goodwin for her NIL and collective deals.
Yeah. And then your son reclassified?
Yes, he went from being a junior to a senior so he can, get into college early because the collective money will be cut off April 8th, and then there will be a cap in college.
But do you look at Cooper Flagg at 18 being successful as any kind of blueprint or, hey, my son can do the same thing at the same age?
You can't compare, your kids to these unicorn type of kids, where that's where a lot of parents mess up. Cooper Flagg is one of those rare, kids where, you can't build the blueprint off of, those type of kids, the LeBron James, the Cooper Flaggs, the Paulo Bancheros, the Zion Williams. Those are one-offs, right? Cooper Flagg will be successful. I mean, what can you say about him, right? He's the number one pick. He will be the number one pick. And people say if AJ was in this draft, he would be the number one pick. Yeah, right. I'm sorry. Just Cooper Flagg has an engine you can't teach, right? You can teach him skill. You can teach him the game. You can't teach how hard he plays this game. And 17, now 18, I'm drafting him number one every single time.
Yeah, it's tricky now. Who's the best player who couldn't miss that you played against or with? Like, everybody thought that guy's going to be a star, and just for whatever reason wasn't.
That I played with or seen coming into the league.
Yeah.
Well, probably been in my draft where we had all the high school kids. The Eddie Currys, the Tyson Chandler, we knew he was just a defensive player. The Kwame Browns.
How does Michael Jordan take Kwame Brown?
How does he?
Like,
upside.
What? Oh, okay. So
you're upside, so what you're looking at is you're looking at the age, you're looking at the body style, and you're looking at the raw potential of the player, where what's his ceiling, what's his floor. And, it's not the kids that are the bust, it's the organization. Because you're taking this kid with the idea that you're gonna build something great. So if you don't build something great, or if you don't have the infrastructure of building, a player, then it's your fault, because the 18-year-old doesn't know what to do. He's coming in from high school straight into the NBA. He doesn't know the landscape. So you have to teach him that. But
Jordan, takes a chance on Kwame, and then Adam Morrison was the other end. He had been in college, and both of these guys turned out to be busts. So, Mike and a lot of great players, former players, have a hard time, assessing other players because their standards are so high.
It's the standard, but it's also the delusion of what makes you great, right? So someone like Jordan, he thinks he's great, or he was great because of his fundamentals of the game, right? He doesn't consider the raw athleticism that he had, the big hands, the 40-something inch vertical, the fast twitch. He doesn't consider that. So he looks at, what made him the greatest of all time, not what he came into the environment with. You already had a Bugatti engine, and then you tweaked it for, every terrain. He's buying Hondas and drafting Hondas thinking he can turn them into Bugattis. Like, no. Right? So it's a little bit of the delusion that he came into the world with the Bugatti already.
We're talking to Gilbert Arenas, co-host of Gills Arena podcast. But you had Jordan Washington Wizards version?
No, I played against that. I was the person that came in after he left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So did you play against him as a rookie?
I played against him those first 2 years when he was with Washington.
Okay. And how was that?
I played against him in 99, right when he retired at Jordan camp. When I played against him in the NBA, it's Jordan. So, for the most part, you're admiring as a young fan, but you're also trying to show him that you belong to. So, I dropped 41 on him.
Do you think he remembers that as well as you remember?
He remembers it because, I was a Jordan camp kid. I was a counselor. So I was performing very well then too. So when I got to the NBA, I used to talk a bunch of trash of how I did him. And he said, this is the big leagues. Nothing changed.
Do you ever have a situation where, like Stephen A. did with LeBron James, where a reporter or broadcaster, that you have an incident on the court?
No, I understood media early. I usually beat them to the punch, right? So if I had a bad game, I brung it up first. I didn't let anyone hit me with, your 4 for 17 performance. I was like, I know why you guys are here. I was 4 for 17, so let's just get right to it. So, I already lightened the room. But, this is uncharted territory. No one ever played with their kid. No one ever had, this type of situation where you can have this blended gray area conversations.
But what if you were in the league and your son was able to go into the NBA and you had that wealth of power that you said, hey, I'm going to navigate this so we draft my son to be able to play with me at the end of my career?
I would have did the same thing.
Okay.
Listen, let's just be honest. Every parent would have did the same thing. Across the landscape, most of, America kids that go into the business is not ready. They're not ready to take over the business or get into the situations they get into. But, as a parent, as a father, as a mother, that is your job to prep your kid and get them ready for this level. So, what LeBron did, every parent would have, right? But if you rewind and go back to, the 55th pick, who was available that's showing you right now they should have been that pick? No one, right? So being 19 years old, athletic for a point guard, 6'2", fast, right? Strong, can shoot, can dribble, right? That was the right pick. And, people have to remember that Clutch said, if you pick him earlier than we're trying to, we're going to go overseas. So there was teams interested before 55th.
How have you assessed Bronny? Have you been critical?
Yes, I live in reality, right?
Wait, don't you live in LA?
Yeah, true. But from the 40th pick to the 60th pick, what am I expecting from these guys, right? A bench filler, someone who's going to go to the G League. They'll probably be out of the league by 2 years, right? Maybe they might get to their third year, but most of these guys are not getting to a second contract. So where Bronny is, I figured, okay, by the time his third year comes around, he will be usable in the NBA. Come in, last 2 minutes of the game, last 3 minutes. He'll be one of those type of players. I did not expect him to be dominated in the G League right now. I thought he had to learn how to be aggressive. The bones of his game was already there, right? Fast, can jump. You can't teach that. Being aggressive in the shell shock of Curry, Ja Morant, yeah, that gets everyone. Number one pick to the 60th pick, right? So I'm impressed with how fast he actually turned his game around, and you can see the confidence in him.
Who were the best offensive players in your career that you faced?
That I faced, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson.
That's a pretty good list.
Yeah, Kevin Durant, LeBron James. I can put Tim Duncan up there. Vince Carter, right? So I came in Dwayne Wade, right? Carmelo Anthony, right? So the era I came in is basically, if you look at the top 5 shooting guards of all time, I actually played against all of them.
Who's the best shooter of all time?
Best shooter, Steph Curry.
Okay. Not even close.
Not even close.
How would you do in a shooting contest?
If we had to shoot 100 times, I'll probably win 10 to 15 of those games. It's when you're talking about that elite, the Reggie Millers, the Birds, the Craig Hodges, the Clays, even, Kevin Durant, Kawhi is a great shooter. It's about who can empty their brain the longest, meaning there's no thought. Right? There's not, oh, did I leave the stove on? Is anybody watching? Right? It's just Homer Simpson. It's Homer Simpson moment. Who can be Homer Simpson the longest?
No.
Right? And I think that, Curry and Clay seems like they can sustain it longer than, everybody else I've ever seen.
But it feels like there's a really wide margin, Gilbert, between the greatest shooter of all time and then whoever's the second greatest shooter of all time.
It's the longevity.
But is Ray Allen, who's the second greatest shooter of all time?
Probably Clay.
Second.
I'm sorry to say, I really believe it's Klay Thompson because the shots he's had to take, the volume, the microscope of it, the 60 points with, less than 11 dribbles, right? Those guys didn't do that. I mean, the shot ability wasn't in the era then, but just to see he's doing that with two Hall of Famers, first ballot on his roster. If you remove those guys, I mean, Jesus Christ, Klay would have been first ballot. He still might be a first ballot, but you would be saying he is the greatest shooter of all time. It's just the ways he did it. Now, if I'm going to take clutch, I'm going with Reggie Miller, right? Reggie Miller's clutch shooting is above, those guys. Ray Allen is an in-between of a guy who was I call it like a perfect player shooter, where he was very athletic. He can shoot, he can play make, right? So he was like above Reggie in just the player themselves. And then Steph actually combined everyone into one. Someone who can shoot off the dribble, fast break shooting, off the screen shooting, his ability to just put them all in one. That's what Steph Curry is.
How bothered are you that Richard Jefferson went 13th in the draft and you went 31st?
Oh, not gonna lie. Every time I see his face, I'm like, because it's the one thing he can always bring up that actually gets to me, right? Me being an all-star, all-NBA, getting paid more than him. Something about the draft where he was the fourth best player on our team. Like from his freshman year to his junior year, he didn't improve in nothing, right? 11 points freshman year, 11 points sophomore year, 11 points your junior year. But it really did open up my eye to understand what the next level is, right? It's not about your college performance. It's about your upside. And then when you step back out of our team, he had the best upside, right? You're talking about a 6'7", 6'8", small forward shooting guard, today's power forward, today's center, who can run, jump, defend, put the ball in the basket if need be. That's who you're going to go with every single time.
He looks like he was a star player when you see him on TV.
Yes. Like he was a very, very good mixture of, if you need me to dominate, I can, or I can be your second option, your third option. I can be your bridge player, right? So he was like the perfect guy that if you do not know what to pick, you're safe picking him because he can fill in a lot of voids.
Well, I'm just saying, watching him on ESPN, the older he gets, the better he was. Like, he looks like he used to be a first-team All-NBA guy.
No, right? Where he speaks and he got the look, and he's like, if he said, I used to average, 25. You can believe it just by looking at him. Yeah.
He's Senator Jefferson is who he looks like. He looks like he could, run for political office.
Yeah, listen, we had the best personalities on that team. I mean, Luke Walton was with us, right? So we had some guys that, that really pushed the button. And it's no mistake that we're both in the same field.
Hey, congrats on the success of the show. Always great to catch up with you. Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's Gills Arena podcast. And it's Underdog's hit show. They went over 1 million subscribers. Stream it Monday through Thursday on YouTube. Also available on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. He's great at telling stories. Love that. Take a break. Last call for phone calls. What we learn, what's in store tomorrow after this.